Good to have you with us. This is Nightline, and I'm Raymond Goh. Our top stories. Over 50 passengers rescued after Langkawi ferry goes up in flames. And EU reportedly considering to delay Brexit by up to 2 years.
Ya Allah. Masuk. Naik, bang. Sini, naik sini tengah. Naik ke belakang. Ya, naik sini. Cepat. Mana ni tajuk-tajuknya?
Good morning. More than 50 passengers of a Kuala Perlis-bound ferry were rescued when the vessel caught fire minutes after it departed from the Kuah terminal in Langkawi, Kedah on Monday. The blaze at the Dragon Star ferry carrying 52 people occurred 3 kilometers off Kuah. It's understood that all passengers escaped unscathed. They were rescued by nearby vessels. The Kedah Fire and Rescue Department Operations Centre were told of the ferry fire at 2:48 p.m. and a rescue team was dispatched to the scene at 2:56 p.m. The operation was headed by Deputy Fire Superintendent Johari Muhammad Lazim. It involved personnel from the Persiaran Putra and Langkawi Fire and Rescue stations. According to the Fire and Rescue Department, a passenger first spotted the blaze and raised the alarm. As the blaze grew, many passengers plunged into the sea to escape. The authorities dispatched 2 rescue boats and a Kevlar boat to the scene, aided by assets from the Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency, or MMEA, and nearby vessels to contain the fire. Firemen boarded the ferry to put out the fire and to ensure no passengers were trapped. Malaysia will only proceed with the East Coast Rail Link, or ECRL project, if the nation can afford it. In making the statement, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad also stressed that the government had yet to agree on the pricing for the project.
Our hope is to spend less money. You see, this railway project is very costly, more than 55 billion. It will take us 30 years to repay the loan, and we will be saddled with a lot of interest, which in the end will amount to 140 billion ringgit. We cannot afford that. Therefore, we are trying to reduce the cost, or if possible, we have to postpone implementation of that project.
Tun Dr. Mahathir was speaking to the media after launching Metrot Holdings Berhad's new copper plant extension at Bukit Raja Prime Industrial Park in Klang, Selangor on Monday. He added that the government wants to ensure that its funds are well spent, as the country is faced with a lot of debt. The Prime Minister said the previous government did not do such a good job and had placed the country deep in debt and having to spend all its income to service those debt or face the possibility of being sued for bankruptcy. Last week, Council of Eminent Persons Chairman Tun Daim Zainuddin said a negotiation team from China's government is expected to visit Malaysia soon for further discussions on the ECRL project this month. The Prime Minister also urged the public to understand the cost to be borne by the government with the acquisition of highway concessions from the concessionaires. Tun Dr. Mahathir said this understanding is vital, as the acquisition process involved the people's money collected via taxes.
Tapi rakyat mesti faham, walaupun mereka tidak bayar tol, tetapi kerajaan kena bayar tol. Dan kerajaan bayar tol daripada duit yang dikutip oleh rakyat, daripada rakyat. Akhirnya rakyat membayar walaupun melalui kerajaan. Kerajaan perlu beli highway, yang itu kena belanja duit siapa? Duit daripada cukai yang dikutip, cukai dikutip daripada rakyat.
He said this in response to public criticisms after the government issued a statement on talks with Gamuda Berhad to take over 4 highway concessions that the company has majority stake in, which are the Shah Alam Expressway, Kesas, Damansara Puchong Expressway, LDP, Sprint Expressway, and the Storm Water Management and Road Tunnel, Smart Tunnel. Among the criticisms were that the government did not take over the highway concession from Plus Malaysia Berhad and for introducing congestion charges instead of the outright abolition of tolls. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said that the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, needs time to investigate PAS's alleged receipt of the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB funds. Tun Dr. Mahathir said the graft busters may not have obtained all the details in relation to the case.
Iaitu MACC kata, MACC mungkin belum dapat maklumat sepenuhnya. Dia mengambil masa. Setakat ini banyak lagi pencurian duit oleh Datuk Seri Najib yang MACC tidak pun mempunyai masa untuk selidik. Jadi ini tidak bermakna bahawa Datuk Seri Najib tidak curi.
Tun Dr. Mahathir was asked to comment on a statement by MACC Chief Commissioner Datuk Seri Muhammad Shukri Abdul and whether it would affect the outcome of the Semenyih by-election. Datuk Seri Shukri on Sunday confirmed that the MACC's investigations so far had not found any evidence of the 90 million ringgit transaction into PAS's official account from 1MDB.
Saya memang nak katakan.
Speaking at the event, Tun Dr. Mahathir stressed that the manufacturing sector is the backbone to the nation's economic growth, supported by other sectors such as service and commodity. He said the manufacturing sector has successfully transformed Malaysia into an industrialized nation and will continue to play a vital role.
Even though today many economies seem more focused on service rather than more traditional sectors like manufacturing, I believe the most robust and resilient economies will retain strong manufacturing capabilities.
Tun Dr. Mahathir also expressed his hope that Industry 4.0 can effectively address a number of issues in business, including those affecting the environment, health, safety of workers, and waste management disposal. At present, the sector has also evolved from being solely reliant on hard labor to the use of robotics, automation, and digital technology. A voter's bid to stop the Election Commission EC from going ahead with the Semenyih by-election on March 2nd on grounds that it was illegal has failed. This after the Shah Alam High Court on Monday rejected the summons filed. The 58-year-old voter Puan Sri Sabariah Muhammad Sharif, who was also the plaintiff, named EC Chairman Azhar Azizan Harun and the federal government as the second and third defendants. Judge S.M. Komathi, however, ruled that the High Court is bound by a 2017 precedent decision made by the Court of Appeal in a similar case initiated by Nurul Izzah Anwar. The Court of Appeal had at that time referred to Section 33C under Schedule 13 of the Federal Constitution, which states that the EC's functions are not affected by the lack of members. The judge also added that the EC chairman, Azhar Azizan Harun, is capable of carrying out the Commission's functions on his own. In a lawsuit filed on February 8th, the plaintiff filed an originating summons to have the court declare the Semenyih by-election illegal and that all decisions made by its chief null and void. She alleged that the EC was no longer a legitimate body post-January 1st as it lacked the required number of sitting members in accordance with Article 114 of the Federal Constitution. And following the Shah Alam's High Court decision, the Election Commission EC has announced that it will go ahead with the Semenyih by-election as scheduled on March 2nd. The EC also said that it welcomed the High Court's judgment that all decisions by the Commission on the matter of the by-election are considered valid and in compliance with the provisions of law, apart from rejecting the summons bid filed by a Semunyai registered voter against the EC. The Semunyai State Constituency by-election will witness a four-cornered fight between PH candidate Muhammad Aiman Zainali, Zakaria Hanafi from BN, Nik Aziz Afiq Abdul from Parti Sosialis Malaysia PSM, and independent candidate Kwan Chi Heng. The Prime Minister's office has come out to clarify the status of Lembaga Tabung Haji or TH, saying that the board remains under the purview of the Prime Minister's department. The PMO, in a statement on Monday, said TH remains under the Prime Minister's department and it has not changed with the introduction of a special purpose vehicle as agreed by the Cabinet. It also said claims that TH was under the Finance Ministry were false and baseless. It said that talk that TH had been transferred to the Finance Ministry came about after the Cabinet decided to move underperforming equities to a government-owned special purpose vehicle. TH is also placed under the supervision of Bank Negara. Some 17,384 affordable homes worth a combined 11.8 billion ringgit will be up for grabs at the upcoming Home Ownership Campaign HOC 2019 in Kuala Lumpur next month. Scheduled to be held from March 1st to 3rd, the expo offers houses below 300,000 ringgit per unit, in line with the government's aim to increase home ownership in the country.
The majority of KPKT's properties featured in their pavilion will be below 300,000 because this is part of the affordable housing carnival, going through challenging times and yet are willing to forego some of these taxes to encourage home ownership in Malaysia. So I think this year will be a good year because the market is quite quiet, so the properties are priced very attractively. And in addition to that, there is also the incentive of waivers on stamp duties.
More importantly, is the upfront cost.
Dato' Tong said this after holding a briefing on the Property Expo, which is scheduled to be held at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre. The expo is organised by the Real Estate and Housing Developers Association, REDA, with the cooperation of the Housing and Local Government Ministry and over 50 property developers. Various banks and financial institutions have also confirmed their participation in the expo to facilitate in sales and purchase transactions. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry has allocated 20 million ringgit to promote local products from small and medium enterprises domestically and internationally. Its Minister Dato' Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said this is in line with the government's mission to see more of Malaysian franchise brands venture abroad.
KPDN DCP di bawah kepimpinan saya menjanjikan sokongan, bimbingan dan juga membuka laluan kepada usahawan franchise dari negara kita untuk melakukan langkah yang sama. Kerana ini sekaligus akan membuktikan bahawa jenama Malaysia tidaklah inferior tetapi mempunyai kekuatan yang tersendiri.
Dato' Sri Saifuddin said about 5 or 6 overseas promotional programs have been lined up this year. Besides China, his ministry will also visit Indonesia, Vietnam and Australia. He told Malaysian journalists after the official launch of T-Live's store in Shanghai, China on Monday. Currently, the homegrown bubble tea brand has about 220 outlets in Malaysia, 6 in Vietnam and 2 in Australia.
Every Friday on Nightline! Woo! Whoa!
Coming up next, fireman Adib was beaten up. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Muhammad Fuzi Harun has proposed that houses of worship be installed with CCTV cameras. He said this could help police in their investigations should there be any incidents of any religion being insulted.
Cuma saya merayu lah kalau boleh pihak-pihak berkuasa rumah-rumah ibadat, masjid, surau dan juga tokoh-tokoh misalnya gereja-gereja ni dia orang pasang CCTV. Jadi bila ada berlaku kecurian, pecah rumah-rumah ibadat di memecahkan patung-patung dan sebagainya, automatik dia orang boleh bantu kita untuk mengesan individu yang tidak bertanggungjawab ini. Ini salah satu usaha. Mungkin dia melibatkan kos yang tinggi perbelanjaan, tapi sekiranya mereka ni ada kemampuan.
He was speaking to reporters after presenting the Pingat Jasa Pahlawan Negara Medal to 174 police officers and members from the Kelantan Police contingent in Kota Baru on Monday. According to Tan Sri Fuzi, most places of worship in the country still do not have such a facility, and that hampers police investigations whenever sensitive incidents occur. Fireman Muhammad Adib Muhammad Qasim had informed one of the National Heart Institute IJN staff that he was beaten up. This was revealed by IJN Cardiothoracic Senior Consultant Surgeon Dr. Muhammad Ezani Mataib when he testified as the 14th witness in the inquest into Adib's death. Dr. Ezani said one of his team members, known as Ashraf, who treated Adib when he was admitted to IJN, told him that he had asked Adib whether he remembered the incident, and the latter nodded his head. He said he was informed by Ashraf days after Adib passed away on December 17th last year, after which he had asked the informant to refer to IJN's lawyers. However, Dr. Ezani said Adib gave a different answer when the police investigation officer, or IO, came to interview him at the hospital. During the interview, he said Adib shook his head when asked by the IO whether he remembered what happened. He added that Adib was communicating using either a board or hand signals while he was conscious, as he had a tube in his mouth. Dr. Ezani was part of the team that treated Adib when he was transferred to IJN from Subang Jaya Medical Center at around midnight of November 28th until the fireman's death on December 17th. The suspects believed to have placed statues of Chinese and Hindu deities at the Sabilul Huda Surau in Taman Pendama, Klang has been remanded for 4 days. Klang South Police Chief ACP Shamsul Amar Ramli said a 37-year-old suspect was arrested at a house about 200 meters away from the surau at 6:15 p.m. on Sunday. The suspect is believed to be influenced by deviant religious teachings. He also confessed he stole the deities from a shrine in front of a house and near a garbage disposal area within the area. His urine sample tested positive for methamphetamine. 2 men were arrested by police on Monday in connection with 3 wayside robberies and an attempted robbery involving 6 to 8 suspects in Selangor last week. State Police Chief Commissioner Dr. Nur Azam Jamaluddin said a special team was formed to track down the suspects following a spate of robberies in Klang and Puchong within 24 hours on Thursday. He said efforts are underway to track down the remaining suspects. Last Thursday, 3 robberies involving parang-wielding gang members took place in Taman Sri Andalas, Port Klang and Puchong. One of the incidents was caught on CCTV and has since gone viral on social media. A mother and daughter were killed in a road accident involving a Peroda Myvi and Toyota Hilux on Monday. The accident occurred at kilometer 32 Jalan Rao Mempaga in Rao, Pahang at around 11:45 a.m. The deceased were identified as driver of Peroda Myvi, Siti Farhana Othman, aged 25, and her mother, Ramlah Saad, 60. Ramla's husband, Wan Muhammad Saleh Wan Chik, aged 73, was critically injured and rushed to the Raub hospital for treatment, while the driver of the Toyota Hilux, Lai Wan Man, aged 35, suffered minor injuries. According to police, the driver of the Toyota Hilux had lost control of the vehicle, which entered the opposite lane and collided with a Perodua Myvi. On to the foreign front now. The European Union, EU, is reportedly considering to delay Brexit by up to 2 years. This comes after British Prime Minister Theresa May once again delayed a parliamentary vote on her deal. With a chaotic exit prospect in waiting, senior EU figures are now reportedly considering offering the United Kingdom a 2-year extension of the Article 50 process for leaving the EU. This means Britain is unable to exit the bloc until 2021. The Prime Minister faces a potential wave of resignations from her cabinet this week if she refuses to rule out a no-deal Brexit in her planned statement to Parliament on Tuesday. May has previously indicated that she will not lead the party into the 2022 general election. However, some ministers now want her to step down as soon as the first stage of Brexit negotiations are over. We leave you now with visuals of South Korean LG Electronics unveiling their dual-screen